Hi everyone, my name is Ken. I run a company focusing on corporate training, business consulting, and employee engagement. We have worked with more than 10 multinational companies and more than 2,500 employees from 15 different countries, including countries like Australia, Germany, Canada, Korea, China, Japan, Singapore, Malaysia, and so forth. And the good thing about being in the corporate training industry or line is that you're able to meet a lot of people across a short period of time. Which also means that someone like me who's interested in human behavior and emotions, I'd be able to observe what the trends are, what people like, dislike, what their preferences are, and so forth. And a trend that I've noticed is that people tend to prefer asking or request for things like practical tips and tools or advice that they can immediately apply in their own work personal lives. To give these people the benefit of the doubt, perhaps they're really willing to learn and willing to rectify certain mistakes or troubles in their work or professional lives. But for the most part, I've observed that when someone asks such a question, where they would like practical tips, tools, advice, and so forth, especially if the question does not pertain to a technical skill like Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, Power BI, and especially if it pertains to something that is people management related, what the questioner really is saying when they say they want practical tips, tools, and advice is that, hey, I'm too lazy to think in my own case. I'm too lazy to think about what's going on in this specific time at this particular point, and I want you to tell me what exactly to do if you were me. And the truth about that is that it's not possible, because if you're talking about people management, communication, liaising with other people, stakeholder management, the devil's in the details. It's impossible for me really to provide you with practical tips and tools for what you should do, because context happens to matter. The people you deal with happen to matter. You happen to matter, because how have you been treating other people prior to this time when you're asking me for advice? I'll share with you an example. There was a time when someone approached me and said, hey Kim, I'm a manager and two of my employees are having a row. They don't like each other. What should I do? And I said, well, it really depends. I said, if there is nothing urgent going on, perhaps you do not have to be involved in that situation just yet. If I were you and I have the luxury of time, what I would do is that I would ask each of them out for coffee on separate days. I'd perhaps ask person A out for coffee, chat with the person, and then very subtly say, hey, I heard this has been going on. Can you share with me your idea? I would then repeat the process with person B. And then from there, I can make my own judgment and I can then continue to observe. Because it's not all the time that you want to be involved when there's an argument, because your team members are adults. And as I was sharing that, I saw that a lot of people agreed, but there were some people who disagreed as well. And so observing the disagreement, I immediately shared that, hey, but if there is a project that is of top priority and requires urgent attention, I will then immediately be involved and tell my team members, hey, person A and person B, I need both of you to buck up, to pay attention to the project and put your egos aside, because this is urgent and we have to get it sorted out ASAP. And when I shared that example or that approach, some people then smiled and then some people frowned. The first group who were smiling were now frowning. Perhaps they thought that that would not be their approach. And when the training ended, some participants shared with me some feedback. And they said, hey Ken, I really appreciated your ideas. I think they're valid, but I feel that I would like something that's more practical. That's kind of like an ABC, what I should do immediately when this occurs. And they do not want a response where words like context dependent, people dependent are involved. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is actually an SOP for how you should deal with people. But I feel that many times there's no one-word answer, because again, the devil's in the details. And so when people say, hey, I want immediate practical tips, tools, and advice, what they're really saying is that I want you to tell me what to do, because I don't know what to do and I'm too lazy to think. But I feel that as we meet more people and encounter different situations and events in life, we realize that There's really no one right answer for everything. You can only make the best decision that you're able to depending on the context and the resources that you have at your disposal. Of course, the more resourceful you are, the better you will be able in making the best decision for yourself. And even then, what's the best decision for yourself? I can't tell for you. From the company's perspective, maybe it's something along the lines of reducing costs. From your own perspective, maybe you want to save a severed relationship. So it depends on what your goals are. The key word is it depends. When I was in a class with a professor back at university, he has said before that many great answers would have the term "it depends," and I agree with that, because especially when you're in a complex situation, it really depends, and there is no one right answer. And I feel that the person who is able to grapple with such uncertainties and understand that in many situations you can only make the best choices based on or depending on the situation you're in, people you're around, how you've acted prior to that event, is someone who is the most adaptable, most versatile, and more likely to be successful across different situations and difficult times. I hope you have learned something. If you agree with what I've shared, please also share your ideas in the comments. If you disagree, please also share. I'd love to hear from you and learn from each other. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.